One night in 1992, a toy boat suddenly emerges in a swimming pool. Rebecca is awakened by the strange noise and looks out the window, noticing the toy. She rushes to tell her very sick brother that she's found his boat, but he doesn't wake up, so she promises to get it for him. Rebecca goes to the backyard and grabs the skimmer net to try to retrieve the toy, which has sunk to the bottom of the pool. No matter how hard she tries, she can't catch it, and each try brings her closer to the edge. Suddenly an invincible force pushes her into the water, and while she struggles to swim, she notices her mother outside the pool calling her name. Rebecca quickly swims back to the surface but doesn't see anyone around. At that moment the lights start flickering and Rebecca gets scared, so she swims to the edge intending to leave. However, the toy appears again, so she decides to swim back for it. As soon as she touches the boat, something grabs her leg and pulls her down. A mysterious voice can be heard whispering Temagami before Rebecca resurfaces, flailing while begging for help. She's then pulled underwater again, and this time only her slipper resurfaces. In the present, the Waller family is looking for a new house. Ray stays in the car alone for a while, listening to the baseball news on the radio. He's a former player who was forced to retire when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. His head starts hurting, but Ray ignores it when his kids call him. He gets his cane and joins his family inside the house. Realtor Kay shows them around, but they don't really like it, so they decide to leave. On their way home, Ray notices that Rebecca's house is for sale. They call Kay and she shows them this house too, explaining that it only had one owner in the last few decades. Ray's wife Eve likes that the house is close to the school she works at, and Ray likes the pool in the backyard, although Eve is scared of swimming. While admiring the pool, Ray spots a baseball and tries to retrieve it, only to slip and fall into the water. His body gets entangled in the covers and the plants, and as he struggles to breathe he imagines himself playing baseball again after a cure is found for his illness. This gives him the strength he needs to swim and get out of the pool. Later Ray goes to the doctor for a checkup and she tells him he needs to practice easier activities than playing sports with his kids, like yoga or swimming. On their way out, the couple agrees to get the house with the pool. Soon the family is moving to their new home and the kids get to attend the same school Eve is working at. Her daughter Izzy is nervous on her first day, but she befriends popular guy Ronan, who invites her to his swim club. On the weekend, the family works together to clean the pool. Ray puts his hand inside the drain to unclog it, only to cry out when something slashes his palm. He immediately pulls his hand out and finds it bleeding heavily. The family has to step away when they see brown water coming out of the drain at an alarming speed. Sometime later they call a pool maintenance guy and he explains that the water is coming from an underground spring. It means it has natural filtration and geothermal heating, and stories say that the water from these spring pools is great for the skin. In fact, this neighborhood used to be full of wellness centers and health spas. Once the pool is ready, the family finally dives in to have so fun. Eve tosses coins into the water and the kids race to see who can find the special one. Ray does his usual exercises and notices that the water takes all the strain off his muscles. In the evening, Eve goes over the bills and gets frustrated because Ray's doctors cost a lot. To relax, she decides to go for a swim. The family cat Cider meows at her in disapproval before running off. While swimming, Eve is suddenly startled by Ray appearing near the edge of the pool, but when she looks again he's gone. Then the lights start to flicker, so Eve decides to leave. As soon as she gets out of the pool, the lights function normally again. After checking on the kids, Eve finds Ray in bed and asks him if he went outside, but he says no. She says that they should get a pool cover and check the lights tomorrow. Meanwhile, Cider is resting on the diving board and the lights are flickering again. At that moment the boat toy appears on the water and Cider growls at it. The next morning Elliot finds Cider's collar in the pool, but the cat is nowhere to be seen. Ray retrieves the collar and his bandage gets wet, so he decides to take it off. To his shock, the wound is already healed completely. That afternoon, the family finally covers the pool. In the evening, Eve dreams about being in the pool with a strange shadow, and the intensity startles her awake. She notices that Ray isn't in bed with her and looks out the window to find him swimming rather energetically. When it's time for Ray's next checkup, the doctor does the usual tests and is shocked to conclude that his condition has greatly improved. Ray tells her that he's been swimming twice a day and calls it water therapy. Sometime later Ray is exercising in the garage while recording himself. Elliot comes by and asks him to swim with him since he isn't supposed to be in the pool alone, but Ray is obsessed with improving his body. Instead he draws a smiley face on a coin and tells the boy to play their fetching game. Elliot puts the coin on an action figure and plays with it underwater. At that moment coins start falling and Elliot thinks it's his dad, so he quickly resurfaces. However, there's nobody around. Then he dives in to retrieve the coin, only to see more coins falling. He grabs them all before looking up and sees someone by the pool. Once again he resurfaces to find the backyard empty. Elliot starts swimming again and he's startled by something pounding on the diving board, but when he looks there's nothing there. At that moment he hears a girl's voice asking for help from the purifiers. She says her name is Rebecca and reveals she is Elliot's action figure. He reaches into the hole to grab it and finds it entangled in hair before a creepy hand grabs his wrist. After some struggle he manages to free himself and he sees a mysterious figure inside the purifier. A terrified Elliot tells Eve what happened and she immediately comes out to investigate, but there's nobody around and the action figure is floating in the pool. When Ray hears about the incident, he wonders if Elliot is imagining things because he has no friends. Eve says they should have a pool party so the family can socialize more. Later the whole family goes to support Elliot during his baseball practice. Everyone is excited to have a famous baseball player around, so Ray offers all the advice he can. Eventually they convince him to join the practice, and after some hesitation he agrees. His first 2 tries fail, and he even falls. Eve is worried, but Ray assures her he's fine and tries again. This time he thinks about the pool and the vision he had the first day, which allows him to hit the ball with such strength that its stitches crack and it hits the lights. The whole team is impressed, but Elliot isn't happy about his dad taking over the game. That night Eve and Ray go out for dinner. Izzy is left in charge, so she invites Ronan after threatening Elliot so he won't tell their parents. Ronan and Izzy have fun in the pool and decide to play Marco Polo. During Izzy's turn, she says Marco with her eyes closed and Ronan pranks her by leaving the pool. Suddenly the radio is turned off and something creepy appears in the water to whisper Polo. Izzy walks toward it thinking it's Ronan, but when she's about to catch it the entity disappears. Suddenly the creature appears behind Izzy and says Polo, only to disappear again when she turns around. Still thinking it's Ronan, Izzy dives in to go after him, but she can't find him, and the pool strangely doesn't seem to have a bottom. At that moment the entity grabs her leg and starts pulling, so Izzy kicks both legs until she manages to free herself. Then she notices a bright square above her and quickly swims toward it while the lights start to flicker. She resurfaces just in time and Ronan helps her out. She's clearly terrified as she explains what happened, but Ronan says she was there alone and only for a few seconds. At that moment Izzy's parents come back, so Ronan kisses her before running away. Later Elliot tries to talk to Izzy about what happened to her because he wants confirmation that he isn't imagining things. However, Izzy refuses to say anything because the pool is helping their dad and she doesn't want to ruin things. She also points out that nobody will believe them anyway. On the day of the party, lots of people attend and everyone is having fun. Izzy is still scared though, so she chats with her friends but doesn't get in the pool. Elliot stays in his room and sets up a camera at the window to record everything. In the kitchen, Eve asks Kay why the pool wasn't used for so many years. At first Kay tries to dodge the question, but eventually she tells Eve about a girl who drowned there. Remembering Elliot's story, Eve asks if her name was Rebecca and Kay is surprised that she knows it. A boy asks Ray to sign the ball he broke the other day. After doing so, Ray invites the boy to join the game in the pool where a few adults are carrying kids on their shoulders. The boy gets on Ray's shoulders too and they join the fight. It takes them some effort, but they do manage to win. However, with each movement, Ray sinks lower and lower into the water. Suddenly a black substance comes out of the drain and enters Ray's body through his mouth, quickly possessing him. The boy keeps asking him to let him go, yet Ray holds onto his legs tightly and walks toward the deep end of the pool. Then the boy starts to drown as the toy boat appears above them. Elliot sees this on the camera and runs to get his mother. At that moment the boy's parents finally see his hand waving in the water and the father jumps in to save him just in time. On his legs there are marks left by Ray's tight grip. Ray is still at the bottom of the pool and also has to be rescued. He's non-responsive, so Eve starts CPR until he wakes up. Moments later the party is cancelled and cops come to investigate. The boy's mother points out that her son said Ray wouldn't let go of him, so Eve reminds her of Ray's illness and the fact that he almost drowned too. The father is also the coach of the baseball team and says that he won't press charges, but he doesn't want Ray to come to practice anymore. Eve tries to apologize and the mother snaps, saying she doesn't want Eve near her family ever again. Tired of this situation, Eve tells the kids to get in the car and announces they're leaving. She insists there's something wrong with the pool and Ray tries to convince her that the pool is great, so she has to remind him that a boy almost died. Ray gets in the car too and they leave together. After just a few seconds of driving, Ray looks sick and he starts coughing. Eve stops the car as Ray's veins get black and he throws up a dark liquid. The family immediately goes home and puts Ray to bed. Eve calls the doctor, who can't bring him in for tests until Tuesday and advises her to keep him resting until then. Ray apologizes for almost drowning the boy and keeps begging for one more swim, creepily describing how cool it feels down there. Eve doesn't let him leave the bed and is so worried that she empties the pool by letting the hose fall into the main water supply. Afterward she checks on her kids and promises to protect them. The next day at work, Eve researches the history of the house. It turns out that every family lost a person while they lived there. A desperate Eve calls Kay and gets the address of Rebecca's family. It's a very fancy residence, and when Eve meets Rebecca's mother Lucy, she learns that her son is an ambassador. Eve tells Lucy everything that happened and Lucy starts coughing. She's so nervous that she overpours her glass of water. After Eve insists, Lucy finally opens up. She cries black tears as she explains that before the house there was a spring on the ground. It was called Temagami and people worshipped it because it granted wishes. Unfortunately, every wish had to be paid with a sacrifice. The night that Rebecca drowned, her brother heard her yell and tried to leave his room to help. However, Lucy locked him up since the water was using her as a vessel to grant her wish, Rebecca's life, in exchange for her sick son to get cured. Lucy tells Eve that love requires sacrifice and she should let Ray get healthy. Eve thinks the idea is monstrous and calls Lucy out, only for Lucy to start coughing again. The hose of her oxygen tank starts filling with black liquid and soon the fountain in the room does the same. Lucy suddenly talks with a creepy voice as her nose and eyes also ooze the black goo, saying that the water will sleep again. A terrified Eve finally leaves. At home, Ray is having a shower when his body is suddenly possessed by the entity again, thanks to the contaminated water supply. At the same time the drain in the pool starts oozing the black liquid too. When the kids come home they call for their parents but neither of them comes out. Izzy tries calling Eve but she won't answer the phone, so she checks the garage. Elliot fills a glass with water from the sink and sees it vibrate. At that moment he hears meowing, so he goes outside hoping it's cider. The glass on the table then starts moving on its own. In the backyard, Elliot is shocked to discover that the pool is filled again. The meowing comes from a floaty, so Elliot crawls on the diving board to reach it. As the cover handle starts spinning on its own, a creepy creature appears on the floaty and pierces it with its nails to deflate it, causing Elliot to fall into the water. The handle keeps spinning to cover the pool while the glass in the kitchen finally falls and shatters. Then Eve arrives and grabs the handle, but it's too strong and pushes her back. She tries again and this time Izzy rushes to help her, so between the two of them they manage to stop it. After kicking the handle to break it, Eve jumps into the pool to look for Elliot but she can't find him even after moving the floaty. She keeps swimming and sees a strange hole at the bottom of the pool, as if it was a dark abyss. Eve returns to the surface and quickly grabs the hose, which she brings into the pool with her. Now she can take some extra air and keep swimming into the abyss. Meanwhile Izzy is back in the house to search for her dad and slips on the water, so she falls on top of the glass shards, hurting her hand. At that moment she hears a creepy sound and goes to investigate. Ray startles her when he appears out of nowhere saying he's been looking for her. His eyes are black and water is pouring from his feet. Izzy looks down for a second and he disappears, so she tries to call 911. Suddenly Ray appears next to her and knocks the phone out of her hands before hitting her in the face. He says that Elliot's life is very hard, so it's better to sacrifice him. Terrified Izzy tries to run away but Ray grabs her by the hair and rips a few strands off, so she's able to keep running and hide in the garage. The TV suddenly turns on by itself, playing a video of Ray's best game before static takes over. Ray yells at her but decides to leave her there and locks the door. In the pool, Eve finally finds Elliot and grabs him so they can leave. However, the souls of all the people who drowned in the pool surround them and try to stop them. After some struggle, Eve manages to kick them off and keeps moving, but she can't find an exit. Rebecca then appears and throws the coin with a smiley face, which shows that they've been upside down all along. Now Eve can finally see the light and swim to the surface. Elliot is non-responsive and as Eve starts CPR, Ray appears behind her saying it's too late. When Eve begs for help, Ray grabs her by the neck and tells her that the pool chose Elliot. At that moment Izzy appears with a bat and Eve makes a gesture to convince her to attack. Izzy hits Ray in the legs to make him fall, then she hits him a few times on the back, which makes him throw up a bit of black liquid. Seeing this, Izzy hits him again in the stomach, causing him to see many visions of all the important moments of his life. Hearing his wife and daughter call for him, Ray finally throws up all the black goo and returns to normal. As Elliot wakes up, the dark liquid comes out of the pool drain again. Ray realizes that the pool won't stop until it gets its sacrifice, so he jumps into the water and swims toward the abyss. Soon Elliot is throwing up all the strange liquid in him and the darkness in the pool disappears, taking Ray with it. Sometime later Elliot watches a video of Ray telling his family how much they mean to him. Eve gives him back the coin with the smiley face and wonders if they should sell the house, but the siblings point out that this would happen to someone else and Ray wouldn't want that. Instead, they agree to fill up the pool with dirt and live there to avoid any more deaths. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.